coronavirus officially hitting the U.S.
Infected by a mysterious respiratory virus has more than tripled over the weekend.
The virus now taking more than 1 million lives worldwide, and 1/5 of those lives right here in the U.S. More than 205,000 American lives lost now.
The largest school district in the whole country is now shutting down schools tomorrow until further notice.
Many students around the world are returning to classrooms.
I'm Mr. Escobar. I'm a teacher here at Dominguez High School. I am also an EMT and dialysis technician. I was actually having contact mostly with patients that were critical, working in a dialysis clinic. Had about between 14 to 16 patients a day.
Do you think hospitals had enough resources to handle the crisis?
No, it was just overwhelming. I think because even our clinics, the company I was working for is a very large corporation, and even us didn't have enough people. Even didn't have enough resources. When we talked about hospitals, we were sending patients to the ER, to the emergency room. We had a wait of 25, 30 minutes for response, from 911 response alone. And hospital will wait between 6 to 8 hours to find a bed. Just the overwhelming part of the pandemic overwhelmed everybody. Actually got sick in the middle of the pandemic. We had an outbreak at work. They were gonna put me on a ventilator. We lost 24 people, 19 of them were my patients. But going back to the mental aspect of this, absolutely, to walk into my clinic after I nearly died, and to see that everybody was gone, that definitely took a toll that I was not expecting. But
Jessica Lopez, teacher advisor with Compton Unified School District.
What was the biggest challenge of remote learning?
The biggest challenge of remote learning, I'd say, was having to transition all of my lessons and lessons plans to the digital platform and using Google Classroom and using Zoom, and then also having to try to engage students knowing that they're at home in the middle of a pandemic.
Daniel Rosas, I was in 7th grade when remote learning started. I'd say personally the biggest challenge was the motivation you had to have to do the schoolwork from home. It was very challenging since you weren't, there in person to feel the energy.
I don't think enough support was done, and there's only so much I can do as a teacher, right? But not enough support was done either by the district or the governments to kind of support students at home in trying to keep them engaged or to provide them with some of the necessary things that they needed. It was all kind of put on us, and I'm not at home with you. I can't force you to be engaged, right? So I feel like that's where it kind of failed. We have seen some kind of small changes last beyond the pandemic, right? Where I think absenteeism is a problem. Students don't want to come to school. We've just seen a rise in absences. But I think a learning gap that happened as well as a result of it. Students, not everybody was as engaged during Zoom, which is understandable. I've seen a little bit less, not necessarily commitment, but students probably just not being as efficient as they used to be prior to the pandemic, on top of the social skills. We see a gap with that too.
Going back in person was challenging since after adapting to online learning, you had to relearn a lot of what you had forgotten during quarantine. It was very isolating. You couldn't really see a lot of people or experiences that you had before, so life was a lot emptier back then.
I feel for me it was a good learning experience. And for many of those students, I look at it as kind of one of the highlights of getting through that whole struggle.
We had an administration that kind of thought everything was going to go away at some point, and don't worry about it, we're going to be okay, and when in fact people were not okay.